Once upon a time, the novelty of waking up to a whole new batch of content, whether it be new battle pass, cosmetics, challenges, gameplay items, a new map, is pretty exciting. And even now, I don't think that novelty is fully lost within newer games, i.e., Arc Raiders Ribbon Tides, the final season 2, Grand Theft Auto Online before they added the Terabyte and the Oppressor Mark II. I just think that to a certain extent, no matter what it is they add to these newer games that I enjoy, I'll never be able to reach that same feeling of glee or wonder again. And some of the folks might be saying, well, it's because you're older, you're focused on different things in life now, or you're wearing the rose tinted glasses. The nostalgia of that era was not as good as you remember it. Either one of those things might be true, but because I can recall moments of enjoying seasonal drops for newer games, I'm a bit more inclined to disagree on either one of those points. It isn't really based on how much I do or don't enjoy these games, because I love a lot of games that I don't play daily, weekly, monthly. I love a lot of games that I haven't played in years at this point. I think it's because of the traditional design around seasonal update models and how they're structured around a live service where the experience is basically tailored around what new content is being added into the game. And I wouldn't say it stems from burnout either, because when I really do enjoy something, I will put a whole lot of time into it, sometimes even to a detriment. Speaking of Arc Raiders, this channel is emblematic of that. I was putting so much time into the game that I figured, why not? I have one of these dead channels. I just start pumping some content. And of course, now it's turned into more general commentary, but I was putting a lot of time into Arc Raiders in a very short, condensed period of time. And of course, because of that, I started to see more design flaws and issues that I had with the game more exaggerated than I otherwise would have. But I love, and to this day still do, the experience. Now, when I look at just about anything, the idea of a roadmap or seasonal updates or mid-season updates or a graphic of here's what's to come is just not that exciting. I think part of this clicked for me when I was playing Arc Raiders actually, and more recently Red Dead Online, because Red Dead Online is a game that is no longer being officially supported. But I'm still able to come back to that game on a weekly basis and find bits and pieces of enjoyment because I haven't gotten to a point where I've progressed so much there's nothing left for me to do. And even if I have, then I guess I'd figure I'd just start over or I'd play something else. And, you know, as much flack as I would give Arc Raiders for being so incredibly casual heavy that it's essentially wide as an ocean, deep as a puddle, there are some aspects of that game design that I ended up enjoying. And I recognize that a lot of people who play Arc Raiders don't really play video games at all. I got a late start to the game, so I finished the expedition in the second wipe. I didn't finish in the first one because I had just started getting gear around the time that the window was coming up. So I wanted to use it. And when I decided to wipe, of course, although that does breathe some fresh air into the game for people who have already done so much of the progression for Arc Raiders, I put an extra 250 something plus hours into the game just on the strength of player interactions and finding new play styles and things to do alone. And when I think about those two experiences in particular, games that are not rushing you to experience its content, you could spend 6 months, you could spend a year or even more than that away from the experiences and come back and still feel like there's a lot left for you to explore. And I guess somebody who is deeply invested in live service games may have that sentiment for a game that updates on a seasonal basis, but for a lot of folks, including myself, that just feels overwhelming. For example, I stopped playing Marvel Rivals like probably a little over 3 to 4 months ago. And if I were to come back to that game now, catching up on meta changes, new characters, trying to learn new maps and all sorts of things like that would probably just be way too overbearing for me to even really bother playing the game on the same level as I do other games that I enjoy now. Independent of the fact that regardless of what point I return to the game, there is just inevitably a point that there's going to be a whole new set of that same amount of content. And I guess this might be an isolated example because it's a multiplayer PvP game. So of course, catching up on meta changes and new characters and things like that is going to be a lot more difficult, right? Well, yes, but even take something like Destiny, for example. Destiny is not a PvP focused game, although there is most certainly, if you were playing Destiny 2 between a period from anywhere, I guess between 2015 to 2018, or God forbid you got into the game around like Lightfall or some shit like that, When Bungie is going through these really rough patches, it not only becomes a chore for people who have been playing the game, who want to enjoy the game, but it becomes a nightmare for anybody who hasn't played yet that wants to get into the experience. It's not always because they're delivering greedy or bad or boring, uninspired content. Is simply because of the structure. It's centered around volume and retention. Centering a game around retention is kind of a facade because if the game is fun, people are just going to play it. Now, of course, Destiny expansions were not dropping every 3 months. So if you did get into the game a bit earlier, you would have the benefit of being a bit more caught up. But just the experience of trying to get into something that is constantly going to be updating over time, and you're late to that experience, or someone who's already a bit burnt out on it because you've seen similar patterns or you've seen similar content added into the game over the, I guess, many years that you've been playing it, then after a while, the experience just kind of grows off of you for a bit, or even you just kind of want to go and try something else. As the finals players, we've seen a stretch of just straight up seasons where there were no new abilities added for any of the 3 classes. Look at annual games like Call of Duty and licensed sports games, or Assassin's Creed comes out every 2 years, where the spark and inspiration to create, fresh experiences that these studios used to have would be present if they spent 2 to 3 years away. But because of the industrial obligations these companies have to push out entire games, DLCs, battle passes, cosmetics at such a commodified rate, it gets a bit old for somebody who just wants to sit down and kind of experience the game for what it is. And games have been trying to optimize the fun out of themselves for so long now because you have all these progression systems and things to work towards that when you finish them, a lot of the times people will find themselves saying, oh, well, there's nothing left to do. And hey, look, you know what? Maybe perhaps to have so many different forms of progression and things to work towards for you is the fun experience. I'm not knocking that. For me, I'm just saying that as I've come to experience games on a much more micro level and just to play them without trying to optimize every system in the game or feeling the pressure to complete all of the content in a season or all the contracts or get all the upgrades in the skill tree or anything like that, for me has made enjoying these games a lot easier. Similar to the kind of comfort that you get from single player games, knowing that no matter how much time you spend away from it, when you come around, it's always going to be there. So regardless of some of the gripes I may have with Arc Raiders, I do appreciate that the game does not have this thick layer of FOMO and structure around seasonally based content. They put things in the game, and when you come back to it, you might find out new stuff if you haven't been keeping up with them on social media. For a lot of people, it's comfortable for them to boot up a game and for the experience to be predictable and more aligned with how they've been experiencing the game over a selected period of time, rather than there to be so many new things, bells and whistles, that they can't exactly keep up with it anymore. So I think I'm kind of beginning to understand, for some reasons or another, yes, I might be more focused on other things and starting to become a bit more productive outside of gaming. So I'm sure that's a part of it, but also it is a design problem, in my opinion. I'm beginning to sympathize a bit more with the casual gamer who just wants to boot something up and enjoy it for what it is. If you want to chat more, you can check out my Twitch and Discord links in the pinned comment. Thanks so much for watching. I will see you next time.